and welcome to the David Tomsic Show, fighting tyranny one day at a time. Now, do you enjoy a good conspiracy theory? Well, today we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories that fuel right-wing nationalists. Now, there are plenty of them. We're going to talk about a couple, and they're very scary, not for the faint of heart. But before we do, I have something to say. This is full disclosure. I myself was a conspiracy theorist, and in some way still am. I remember back in the days of the 70s, we had the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Kennedy assassination, to name a few. And I went down every rabbit hole I could find. Now, it kind of took a hiatus for a while, and once I kind of got my feet wet, got my master's degree, I became an analyst. And that's kind of what I do. I started going back and researching everything. Geopolitics, economics, you kind of name it, I did it. It's about 15 years. I looked into everything. I knew things because I knew where to find them, who to talk to around the world, in our country, what sources to use, where documents were, how to read the documents. You name it, I had to do it. So I went and debunked many of the conspiracies that I believed in. Thank goodness, because a lot of them were flat out crazy talk. Okay? But there are quite a few conspiracies that are real. And so when I talk about conspiracy theories, I have some warmth in my heart for them. But some of these right-wing people, whether it's the nationalists, many evangelicals, many just general MAGA people, all believe these certain conspiracies to be true. And sadly for them, they're not. The first one I'm going to talk about is the occult connection, I call it. Now, I put this in this video because I've had too many people tell me some scary stories of what they think about Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, AOC, and they have a list. And these people somehow must meet together in a secret bunker with hoods and robes, sacrificing children and coming up with ways to destroy America, with ways to destroy our economy. They're out to get Christians, and you go down the list. And unfortunately, these are crazy talk, okay? This isn't true. I'm not saying there aren't people like that in our world and even in government. I'm saying that this conspiracy theory that these Democrats, and I'm going back to this, I just did a video on this, a couple of them. There's a couple of shorts you could watch that I talk about this. This is just not true. These are, again, narratives created by whomever. And I'm not even sure who creates some of them. Alex Jones, the very infamous and famous conspiracy king, talked about a lot of things in his time, and he got sued and lost pretty much everything, and he's back on limited podcasts somewhere, but he's still out spewing hatred and these conspiracy theories. Now, again, there's no real evidence that there's this cult that these leaders are in. They're just people. Most of these people are lifetime politicians, and they find ways to survive. They're not perfect. I condemn the Democrats as much as the Republicans. For those of you that don't know, who don't watch or haven't watched me in the past, I hammered Joe Biden and his administration on many issues. I had to go back and sort of requalify things because I trashed his economy. Now, I'm taking a sidebar here from the occult. And I was wrong. Joe Biden's economy wasn't as bad as everybody thought it was. In fact, it was the envy of the world. I will talk about that a little more later, I hope. But this whole thing with the occult and finding ways to pin demonic activity on the president, the vice president, Congress, to blame everything that went wrong on Democrats, that they're evil, you name it. These things are just narratives. They're just created talking points, and people believe them. And Donald Trump used these memes, these talking points, to destroy the Democratic Party this year, to wreak havoc on them, to ruin any credibility they might have had. And people believed everything he said to be true, even though for the most part it wasn't. So what's the next one we're going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the election. Now, once again, many people believed, mostly right-wing people, that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump in 2020. I'm sorry, folks. I did. I thought it was a mistake later. I had buyer's remorse. But many people looked at the 20 election as basically a rigged election for Joe Biden. The voting machines were rigged. All the ballots were illegal. People were voting 55 times. Now, I want to go on record as saying that some of this is true to a small degree. A lot of people vote that shouldn't vote. People that are dead aren't voting. Someone's voting using their numbers. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure many of the mail-in ballots could have been questioned and were. But on the scale that we're talking here, it did not happen. And the voting machines absolutely did not happen. There was no issue with the voting machines. This is, again, a created narrative created by Donald Trump and his people. That year, Donald Trump went all out, head first into creating these narratives about the voting machines and illegals and immigrants and mail-in ballots, and it caught on. People believed it. Now, if you ask people, where did you get your information when you believed that this was a rigged election, it always went back to the same couple of sources. That's because that's where it all starts. It starts with a couple of sources. Now, I want to let you know, Fox News, big money, big company, was sued by Dominion Voting Systems. Now, Dominion sued them for basically saying that their machines were corrupted and were basically rigged. Fox News lost big time. $787 million settlement, the largest in history. Fox News couldn't prove anything. They couldn't. They got destroyed because there wasn't any evidence. It just wasn't. How about, a guy named John Oltmann? He's a podcaster. I think he's a right-wing podcaster. And for years, he trashed Dominion Voting Systems, blamed the judges and everything for these elections that were rigged against Donald Trump. And he had to go to court because he got sued. The judge fined him $1,000 a day. And I believe this was last year, late October of last year. And it was $1,000 a day. And the judge said, I want this guy to think about what he's saying. The judge wanted him to think how serious of an issue this was. He wanted him to understand that you have to have evidence before you accuse somebody of rigging a machine, rigging an election. No evidence. The man could not produce any evidence. They never can. Because once again, these narratives, these whole conspiracy theories start with just a few people. In this case, once again, it started at the top with Donald Trump. The problem is he wanted to hold on to power because the arrogant man that he is, he could not believe people voted against him, and they did, en masse. That was a very large turnout election. They just did not want Donald Trump. That's what happened. Now let's go down a little further. January 6th, the insurrection, connected to the election, right? Another conspiracy theory by right-wingers is that that was not an insurrection. Now, many people believe it was Antifa that was behind the January 6th riots. That's not true. They also said that it was rogue FBI agents that were involved as well. None of this has been proven. Now, I'm going to say this. Again, there probably was or were some Antifa people there. I'm sure there were. But let's go back and look at the bigger picture. Donald Trump incited these people because Donald Trump believed he won the election. He refused to relinquish his throne. He refused to relinquish the presidency, which is his duty to do under the Constitution. He refused it. So he sent his henchmen to go and ransack the Capitol building. He was trying to force the hand of the government to give him the presidency back. That was never going to happen. He lost. Now, the people who were involved in the insurrection were Christian nationalists. We know this for a fact, and many right-wing militia groups. And I'm sure others followed suit. But these were the two main groups that were there. This was an insurrection. This is a mark against the United States. It's a mark against the people of the United States. And it pretty much went unprosecuted because now these people who committed these crimes have been freed by Donald Trump. Now, these are just a few conspiracy theories that people use to hold on to their belief in Donald Trump, to use as a protection against people who have facts, who have evidence, who have logic on their side. These people will use any of these things to keep Donald Trump on his pedestal. No matter how many lies he perpetrates, no matter how many things he screws up, whether it's the economy, our relationship with Canada and Mexico, our relationship with Europe, it doesn't matter. People will believe what he tells them to believe. And if another conspiracy comes up, most likely he'll be behind it. Anything to keep power, anything to keep control over his followers. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I want to say hi to all my new subscribers. And again, God bless all of my subscribers and everybody who watches. We're going to see you next time here on the David Tomsic Show, so please stay tuned. And remember, conspiracy theories can be fun, or they can be very, very dangerous. Where do you stand?